Hey guys, what's up? So it's been a hot minute since I've uploaded anything to my channel, and namely that's because I was away on vacation for about 3 weeks or so, and just came back this Sunday, and um, yeah, my vacation was fun, great. Um, Saw a lot of things, ate a lot of things, and now I'm back, and I'm just chilling and. One of my friends is visiting town from out of state, and he wanted to go out and play some modern. So I got back on Sunday, and I went to play modern on Monday. So kind of a packed schedule for me. And yeah, today I'm gonna give you an update on the deck, or at least I guess an update on how the deck did yesterday. And I thought it was pretty good. I think I would have done a lot better. I'll explain what happened, but I think for not having played for a couple weeks, I think I did really well for um, for that particular day. So yesterday, one of my local shops, they also moved their store, so they moved it to a bigger location, or at least a nicer location, and they were having like the grand opening, I guess, and yeah, so they're hosting a tournament for modern, and about I want to say about 30 people, 32 or 30, at least 30 people were there playing modern. So fair turnout yesterday, and it was 4 rounds, and I think there was two ties for first place, but we didn't want to play a fifth round because we'd be there for like until past midnight, and so cut it off at 4 rounds. But it was great. It was really fun. Got to see a lot of new faces, and got to play with my friend. And my friend was playing Grixis Death Shadow. I'm still playing my Esper modern deck, or Esper control deck, and yeah, we had a great time. So yeah, let me run through my matchups real quick, and then I'll kind of explain what I did during those matchups, and um, you know how I fared and stuff like that. So, played 4 rounds yesterday. I played against, if I can remember correctly, I played against a Griselbrand, either Mardu or Rakdos combo deck. So basically, just trying to cheat out Griselbrand using breach through. The red card, I forgot the name of it. Breach something. Um, or it cheated out by dumping Griselbrand to the graveyard and then reviving it with one of the black revival cards. It's not persist, because persist only revives non-legendaries. I forget the name of the other revival card. Yeah, so I played against that first round. Round two, I played against. Let me think real quick. Blue whites, Yorion, um, combo, I guess. It was using the land, the land where you have 7 planes or more. You start bringing back a creature for free every upkeep. I forget the name. Like, I played against it before, but I always forget the name of the land and whatnot. But I was playing against that blue white. I don't know. I guess Ranger Captain Control, I guess, or Sun Titan Control. I don't quite really know. It was more of like a homebrew. That the guy I played, and I played him before, but and it's always been a kind of a close game. But yesterday, I think I did pretty well against it. So that was game two, or round two. Round three, I played against Yorion Money Pile. So it's playing Elementals, Yorion, Omnath, Ren and Six, all the good money card. So that was round three, and then round four I played against Temur Foothills, so or Temur Cascade, I guess. And yeah, so against the kind of the quick layout of how my results against Griselbrand combo, I too old. Against the blue white Ranger Captain combo, I too old. Yuri on Money Pile, I too old. and then the final round I went 1-2. So I did lose my final round, and I think it was just ending the night, and I misplayed a lot, and I maybe I was overconfident or really greedy. I know I was really greedy on my one of my plays, and I got really punished for that. So that was just my bad. The moment I cast it, I realized it a little too late, and I'll kind of explain what happened. But it's just one of those things. You just gotta keep playing and hopefully learn from your mistakes. But other than that, I think my deck did really well, being able to 2-0 everyone. I didn't go into time at all. I was playing relatively quickly. May have almost went into time with against the blue white combo deck, game two or round two, mainly because our game one was so grindy. He had the upper advantage for a long time until I was able to pull back and just win. In game like two, I don't know how, but I had like 30 plus health. I don't remember how I was recovering. I think it was I was attacking with Solitude, and I had like Wandering Emperor and stuff like that. And so my health was like really high. His health was really high. So we were just kind of whittling down each other. Eventually, I was able to break his board and went from there. But almost went into time. So that was the only game I almost went into time. Every other game ended relatively at a good pace, I guess. So I guess it's named at 2-0 everyone except for the last game. So I think that's why I didn't go into time. But yeah, let's break it down. Let's talk about the first matchup, cards I decided, cards I took out. If you haven't seen my deck profile, just click a couple videos back. It's probably somewhere on my channel somewhere. But the one card I wanted to mention that I really liked, that I tried out, was the Force Snapcaster. So I did pick these one up recently, these Ultimate Master ones, and selling my other ones that I had just for a good deal. But I really like Force Snapcasters. I don't know why. Like, yes, they're kind of dead sometimes, but I think this is the reason why I won so quickly some of my games. I was just able to really pressure my opponent with these guys, and always having a counter spell up too. Like 3 was great. 3 if you don't want to clog early in the game, but just if you're gonna grind out your opponent or if you want to be really aggro, I think 4 has been the number for me. At least from my experience yesterday. Like this card put in work. There was only one time my opponent sided any graveyard hate against me, and even then, when they did side graveyard hate against me, it wasn't the worst. Snapcaster still did its job. And so like if they're siding graveyard hate against me and they're trying to turn off my Snapcaster, I mean, it's still a 2/1 that you can flash out to block and attack and stuff like that. It's not the worst thing, but either way, I thought this card really did really well yesterday. And yeah, I thought having 3 Teferi was a good number. I cut down on having 4 Teferis to 3, and that was good. And yeah, that's the only real changes I made to the deck that since the video. But made a couple changes to my side deck, but we'll talk about that later. So against Griselbrand, it was kind of rough for him. Being a combo player against a control player, it's always kind of like one of those games where you're most likely gonna lose because the control player has so much interaction. It doesn't really matter. Like at one point, he did get Griselbrand out, but I think game 1 I had 2 Snapcaster that was just poking him down. I wasn't sure what he was playing. He wasn't really doing too much, but I think he was just being really conservative with his spells because I'm playing control. But I think I got him down to 14 health. So by the time he got out Griselbrand, he Griselbrand for 7 to draw 7, but it was a little too late, too little. Like he couldn't draw another 7 because he's usually at 14 health. And then I was able to, I think, just kill the Griselbrand with Kazi Guile or something like that. And then from there, just attack it with Snapcaster and kept poking him down. So no matter what combination of cards he drew, he just couldn't outpace the Snapcaster clock, on top of not being able to really get a turn to do much on game one. Game two, so I won game one. Game two, I also won. Game two, I think, looking at my side deck, I think I put something like this in. I think that was it. Yeah, I think I threw something like this in because I knew he was relying on his graveyard quite a bit, and he was a kind of a combo deck. So threw all that in. I think I may have put a third Teferi in or a fourth Teferi. Not too sure. I think I took out all the really low end. Like I took out prismatic ending and stuff like that because I knew ending is not going to do anything like against a combo deck like him. I think I took out all 4 endings. I took out. I think I took out also. Not farewell. What's the March, and just kind of threw this in, and yeah, the results were kind of the same. I think this time he dumped Griselbrand to try to revive it. I just Kyle's Guile his graveyard, and his revival card fizzled. He tried to through the breach. I countered it. It was just one of those games where it just wasn't going well for him. He couldn't set up. He couldn't get Griselbrand out. And I think I just had a Snapcaster or two, just every turn, just swinging 1 or 2 damage, or 2 to 4 damage at him. And yeah, that was basically a game. I think that against any other deck he would have been fine against, but against my deck it was just kind of rough there. So yeah, that was game 1. Game 2, yeah, play against the blue-white control, or blue-white Yorion land combo deck, plains land combo deck with the Ranger Captain, the Teferi. So his strategy is basically to get Teferi on the board and to get Ranger Captain set up. So during his turn, if he has Teferi, you can't interact. During your turn, he'll sack the Ranger Captain off, and then you won't really be able to cast any spells. I think it's non-creature spells that Ranger Captain stops. I don't quite remember. Sorry about that, but it doesn't matter. The point is he's gonna try to lock you out of the game, or to get infinite value with the cards he was playing. Ephemerating stuff. So it was a game 1 was definitely tough. I think the only reason I won game 1 because eventually I was able to get out like 3 planeswalkers. I was able to get out, I think, Baby Teferi, Emperor, and Big Teferi. He did try to Ranger Captain lock me, but he never had a Teferi on the board, so I was able to still interact during his turn, and I was able to resolve Big Teferi, and that card he just couldn't get rid of it. He couldn't run it over. Every time he tried to run it over, he just didn't have the cards to kill it. So in that sense, my Teferi lived, my big Teferi lived for a couple turns, and I was able to kind of get advantage off of that. And whatever advantage he did have at the beginning of the game just kind of fell short, so he couldn't. He decided to scoop game 1 because it was like 25 minutes in. We had like 50 minutes, so yeah, he scoops game 1. Game 2, we sided in. I think against him, knowing that he did that, all I think I did was just same thing. Really, honestly, I think it was like this at best or at worst. Maybe a verdict or something. What I took out, I took out my board wipes, honestly, because I didn't think my board wipes were gonna be able to wipe his board because of Ranger Captain. So I think I took out the dams and everything. I took out the dams, took out some like, I think I took out like prismatic and like maybe a planeswalker or 2. I kept in my snaps and everything, but I was trying to interact more on his turn because I knew if he gets the Ranger Captain out all the time, then I'm not gonna be able to really resolve any like slow board wipes or anything like that. So, but the Kai's Guile really hurt him. Like I think game 2, I drew 3 of these guys. He did get out a Hearst, the unlicensed Hearst or whatever, and that was really annoying to deal with because I think he was just trying to. He knew I had Snapcaster, so he was trying to get rid of like targets in my graveyard. And Hearst eventually was like an 8/8. It's pretty big, but in the end, it didn't really contribute to his victory as much because I think by the time Hearst was able to kind of get rid of a lot of my good spells per se, my Snapcasters already got their value. I think that game I only drew one Snapcaster, but it didn't matter. I drew like triple Kai's Guile, and I just kept his board clear, kept his graveyard clear. He couldn't ephemerate anything. He couldn't really Prince Charming Prince or anything like that, or Yorion. Just his board was empty and his graveyard was empty. So even though I think he did get the 7 land off, the 7 planes to start bringing stuff back. Um, I just kept his grave clear, and that was basically game from there. Once I resolved Big Teferi, and I think I resolved um, I forget what else, but yeah, I was just smacking him at that point for damage with like I think Hall of the Storm Giant or Celestial Colonnade. So I was just poking him down while keeping his resources or managing his graveyard, managing his board. So that was good in my end. Despite me signing this in a lot, I never saw this card, so I can't say if the Hill Spellbomb really did anything. I know Kai's Guile for sure just was putting in work the first 2 games, or the first 2 rounds, so I absolutely love this card still. I mean, 4 is a lot, but 4 is where, like, against certain decks, you just break them. If they can't get their graveyard strategy going, you just break their deck with this thing. And that's why I play 4 copies, even though I have Snapcasters and they technically it's like 8 copies, right? So it's a lot of redundancy there, but yeah, I really like the card. You could probably cut this down to 3 and or 2 in the main and 1 in the side probably, would be fine. But I decided to just stick with the 4 copy because I have them. So game or round 3 against Yorion. Game 1 was good for me really, cause I think what I ended up doing a lot was he wasn't really building his board too much. I think turn 2 he tried to red and 6, but I countered it, and I think he was kind of getting. I think he missed a land drop or something like that. So seeing that he missed a land drop, I was just pressuring him with Snapcasters. I think I had like snap and op, and then I opt into another op, and then opt into another Snapcaster, something like that, where I had 2 Snapcasters and I opt like twice and kept drawing off the op, and then I just kept pressuring him with the 2 Snapcasters I had on the board, while then at that point keeping my mana open to kind of counter anything that he might try to do to get rid of my Snapcasters. I think at one point he tries to like Solitude it, he tries to do like Fury and stuff like that, and I think I just counter him. And then I think I resolve Baby Teferi, and then from there it was just kind of a game where he couldn't really interact with my board anymore, and the Snapcasters kind of just clocked him really quickly. So that was game 1. Game 2, I think I sided like, let's see, I took out Kai's Guile and stuff like that because I know that Kai's Guile is not too great against Elementals, but I think I put something like this in. Sorry, I'm trying to remember what I may have added in. Something like this, I think. Maybe a Veto too. And I took out Kai's Guile. I think I took out some of the board wipes, or some of the board wipes, marches that I didn't think was gonna be too useful. I did keep in the prismatics. Prismatics, you want to keep it in against Ren and 6 and Teferi. It's garbage against the rest of the deck though. Honestly, like you don't want to spend 4 mana to kill an Omnath. It feels kind of bad, but it is what it is. Like you still need to remove Planeswalkers, and this deck has a real shit time removing Planeswalkers. So that's what I was keeping in. And yeah, I took out the dam and stuff like that. I was less worried about his creature, more worried about Planeswalkers and stuff like that. So yeah, I kept the board clear. Same thing. I think I get out Snapcasters and start just pressuring him. I think I Aether Gust him a bunch of times. I think I opened up with like a Snapcaster and like 2 Aether Gusts, and some lands and maybe an opt or something like that. But I think he tries to cast like Ren, I Aether Gust, tries to cast a fairy, I gated his Teferi. Next turn again, he tries to cast Ren, I snap Aether Gust it again, and basically it just kind of locked him down. Like he was just not getting anything going. Like, um, it yeah, it was rough for him because like he never was able to kind of resolve any of his planeswalkers, and then I was able to get snapped out and start just kind of going to town on his health, and it didn't look like he had any endurances from what it looks like, or at least I didn't see any endurances. I did see like you know, solitude and stuff like that, but I think he does try to solitude one of my creatures, and then I subtlety his solitude, and he solitudes my subtlety right after that. But like he was just down on cards. Like he didn't have Reef on board. I kept that cleared. I wasn't too sure if he was playing Reef because I didn't really see that many copies. So it was just like me shoving stuff on top or bottom of his deck that made his deck stumble a lot, and that's why I like these cards here because it forces them to kind of commit mana or commit cards, and then you just put this on top of their deck or force them to like put it on the bottom of their deck or something like that. And sometimes I think this is like better than counterspell. It's like memory lapse, basically if you can memory lapse them, they draw the same card again. They have to commit the same amount of mana to recast it, and you kind of just lock them out of the game. It just makes their deck more clunky and more, especially if they're missing land drops and stuff like that, or if they want to draw something else. Just doing this just locks people out of the game occasionally. If you can keep, if you have like snapcasters to recast Aethergus, or you can pitch for subtlety. I normally don't pitch for subtlety unless it's something that unless I'm tapped out, and I really need to stop, like if they're casting a Teferi or something, and I'm tapped out, then I'll subtlety and I'll pitch a card. But otherwise, I always keep subtlety as kind of a card to like a 4-mana counterspell to lock them out of the game. To like if they try to play a big planeswalker, or they try to play elemental or some sort of like creature threat, I'll just force them to play it and put it back on the top of their deck or bottom of it, and swing in again for damage. And basically, by putting these cards in, you're basically playing more of a tempo game. Especially with Snapcaster, you're playing more of a tempo game and less of a control game. So that's how I kind of like to change my deck against certain other decks. It's just to try to out tempo them rather than try to counter everything they have. But yeah, managed to 2-0 that. Now my final match against Temur Rhino. Honestly, I think I should have won that. In terms of like, I win game one. Game one was relatively smooth for me. Game two, there was a critical decision that I had to make, and it was a really awkward one. And so, I think I made the wrong choice. He had Brazen Borrower on the board. I was at 4 health. He was able to resolve 2 rhinos. I was able to clear his board a few times, so I got rid of all the rhinos and stuff. But I was just at so low life, and he had a Brazen Borrow. I was at 3 health. So it's my turn. I have Supreme Verdict, because I do side it, I think, against, let's see, against them. What did I side in? I think I put in Aether Gus's, this, that, and I think a Verdict. I think that's what I side in against the Temur Rhino matchup. But yeah, I think I take out some of the more useless cards. But yeah, this was the cards I had. So I had a Verdict in hand. He had the Brazen Borrower, and I had a Snapcaster. I think I had like some Prismatic Endings and Dams in the graveyard. So there was 2 options for me here. I could have Supreme Verdict to get rid of the Brazen Borrower for sure. I also had a land that I kind of needed to crack. But my mistake was just to pass turn and not do anything. So the idea was I'm gonna snap in Snapcaster to get rid of the Brazen Borrower. But then I think I realized I didn't have a real I didn't have an instant speed to answer the Brazen Borrower. So what he does is he smacks me. I'm down to 1, and I cast the Snapcaster in response to something, and then he fire and ices me in the face, and that's how I die. So I died of fire and ice. So that was dumb of me. What I should have done is just board wipe him, and then let him do whatever he's do. I was trying to get greedy with the verdict. I was thinking maybe he's gonna Rhino, um, or like play Charlotte's agent or something on his turn. That way I can just blow up his board on the turn after. That's why I was saving the verdict. But in hindsight, I think I should have like not worry about the rhinos at that point. I should have worried about my health more. And so I was getting a little too greedy with my health, and I died to that. Now game three, I made an extremely critical mistake, and I should have saw it coming, but so I go first. I go. It doesn't really matter. It was turn three, my turn. He has two lands. He has an he does every single game. He starts off with a foot by suspending crashing footfall. So he suspends it every 3 games. So like it's already a clock. So I'm already racing against a clock that I need to like answer the rhino, because I know it's gonna come eventually. It's always gonna come. So my turn three, I had two decisions to make. I had a Teferi, and I also had two counter spells. So ideally, I was gambling on the fact that maybe he'll force negation my Teferi or something. Because I think I had a board wipe. I had a verdict or something like that in my hand, so I wasn't too afraid if he does shot his agent on his turn. I can board wipe right after that. But the critical mistake I made was assuming he didn't have Blood Moon. What I saw was I saw a land and Misty Force or whatever. So two choices he could potentially had was a Force Negation, which would force him to pitch a card, and maybe a Mystical Dispute or something like that, or a Spell Pierce. Probably a Dispute, because I don't think they could play Spell Pierce. Yeah, Dispute. So my choices were either to cast Teferi and maybe lock him out of the Rhino. The entire like if I can resolve Teferi, the game kind of ends there. What I forgot was that seeing him fetch the force should have notified me that he probably has a Blood Moon on turn 3, on his turn 3, and so I didn't have any basics at this point. My lands were just, I was hard drawing. I think my my lands, my shock lands and my filter lands. So I wasn't really drawing any basics per se. But he goes and fetches for I decided to just go ahead and commit, knowing seeing that the last couple games I didn't see a Blood Moon. So I went ahead and commit to this. But the moment I committed to the Teferi play, I just realized, oh shit, if he has a forest on the board, I should have put 1-1 together that there's a potential Blood Moon on his turn 3. So I go Teferi, he fetches for an island and disputes my Teferi, and then the moment he disputes my Teferi and he has 2 basics, I know the game's already over. I have no basics on my board. Next turn he can cast Blood Moon for free, which he does, and that basically ends the game there because I can't do anything else now. Yeah, so that was absolutely terrible play. What I should have done is just kept my mana open. I had 2 counter spells, in my hand. I could just keep passing turn. Maybe cast Teferi on turn 5 with a counter spell backed up, or just have 2 counter spells the turn after or something like that. But I got greedy and I went for the Teferi play. I absolutely got punished for it. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Like just little signs your opponent gives off. I just made the other, with what information I had, I just made the assumption that he wasn't maybe playing too many Blood Moon. Maybe he had like, I assume he had maybe 1 or 2 copies, maybe. But I didn't see him at all, so I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't play Blood Moon. So being at a top table, I should expect their list to be pretty standard. I should have expected Blood Moon playing against Temur Cascade all the time. So that was my mistake. I rightfully lost that one, and the choice I made during that final game and the game two was where I was like, maybe this is the end of the night. I'm just tired. I want to go home. But at the same time, it's like I definitely could have just played better, played more patiently. Like playing control, you have to be very very patient. You gotta sit out, gotta wait, weigh your options, gotta think about passing turn, not doing anything, or thinking about being proactive or not being proactive. And that's I think that's the most like difficult thing about playing control is knowing when to act and when not to act. And playing this for about like this deck for about 6 months has really taught me that like patience is definitely a virtue when playing a deck like this. So if you jump the gun at the wrong time, you'll lose. You'll lose out on tempo. You'll lose out on control. Other just random aspects of the game that will spiral out of control if you just jump the gun like I did. And you just gotta learn to be patient. And so yeah. Congrats to my opponent. I ended up getting fourth at the event out of like 30 or 32 players, so I ended up getting fourth. That was my only loss. So there was two undefeateds and a couple of like three ones, I guess, something like that. But yeah, I ended up getting fourth. Got store credit, so which is still nice. Paid for my entry and whatever. So not salty or anything, but I think I definitely could have played better, and that was just my mistake. And you live and you learn. So, but other than that, I think the rest of my matchups were great. All the decisions I made during those matchups were good. The deck didn't feel clumsy. I wasn't really getting land screwed. The opt with the Snapcaster is perfect. I really like that. Snapcaster was paid a lot, paid in a lot of dividends, like just being able to cast Snap with like Counterspell, cast Snap with Archmage Charm to draw more cards, Snap with Opt. Like that's always like great right there when you can like Snap and Opt and do all that. Get your big advantage right there. And yeah, that was pretty good against most decks I play against. Maybe the one card I probably like the least out of the deck, if I had to pick a card, would honestly be Jace. I haven't liked Jace in a while. There are times when you resolve him and he just like does his thing. But I think he's out of the cards I am playing. He's probably a little too overpriced to do what he does. He just doesn't do as much. I think the Emperor is a lot better. Like every time I resolve the Emperor, like this, she was putting in a lot of work. I think she put in more work than any other planeswalker outside of like the 5-mana Teferi. But once she's out on the board, she just controls the board really well. And if your opponent doesn't have direct damage, they can't get rid of her, and she just produces a lot of pressure. Like I forget which game, but I had like Snapcasters and like 3 Samurais and whatnot, so I was just swinging in for like 8 damage a turn, 6 damage a turn, and it was just like it gives the control deck a regular win con. You can be aggro with the Emperor, or you can be defensive with the Emperor. So you can summon her, cast her, make a blocker, or cast her and then exile something. But Jace here is just really slow. Like he comes out, okay, you maybe bounce something, or you just brainstorm. Best case scenario, you brainstorm, he survives until the next turn. But he's just not as strong, I think. Maybe if they gave him Flash, he'll be broken. But yeah, I think the Emperor just does a lot more than Jace does. By giving you a ton of pressure with the Samurai tokens. And Snapcasters too, giving you a pressure. Like that's the thing with control. It's like you need to be able to put on a viable clock. You need to be able to clock your opponent too while trying to stop their game plan. So I think with these two, they give you a way to kind of poke your opponent down, make sure that the game is progressing somewhat. Because yes, you kind of want to ult with Teferi, Hero Dominario, but that never happens. Like that rarely ever happens. Like Um, by the time he's at like 7 loyalty, and if you haven't won yet, then it's something's wrong there. Um, Most of the time he doesn't even reach that point. He doesn't reach 7 loyalty. For me, if he reaches like 6 or 7 loyalty, I'm really in control of the game. My opponent's probably like top decking at this point. At that point, they generally scoop. Um, but yeah, like your main win condition, I think in this deck is just got to be your creatures. Honestly, like the creatures you make off of guys, the spirit tokens, the snapcasters, the Wandering Emperor, the Solitude, uh, your manlands. Those are the ways that you want to be able to clock your opponent. Is with those cards, so that you're progressing the game. Because if you sit there and you just uptick on Teferi the entire turn, you're not gonna be able to win for a long time, man. In my videos, managing your time as a control player is very important. Being able to play fast, efficiently, and making the correct decisions, and then be able to kind of put a clock on your opponent, because you want to pressure them both ways. You want to kind of be aggro. You want to pressure them, their life total, and you also want to pressure their hands by countering and removing stuff on their board. So just a couple different ways to play the deck, and I think that for me, most of my matchups have gone like that. I'm able to pressure my opponent on life, control their board for the most part, or counter their stuff, and yeah, it's been kind of good. Um, you know, I guess in essence, you can also play something like Monastery Mentor. But I find Monastery Mentor kind of slow. I'd rather just play Snapcaster, get my value off, and then kind of just poke them down, rather than just try to get a bunch of Prowess tokens and whatnot. But yeah, things like Seldy, also very good tempo play. So yeah, just know when to play control and know when to go from control over to tempo and try to out tempo your opponent, essentially. But yeah, anyways, I think this video's gone for quite a while now. But I hope you guys enjoy and learn a little bit of something. But I thought my deck did really well. I thought I did pretty good, up until the last game, and so I'll probably play some more next week. I'll probably play on Wednesday, actually, at somewhere else. Wednesday and maybe Friday, since my friend's in town. He likes to play Modern, so we're probably gonna be going out a lot this week just to hang out and play Modern and maybe Pioneer too. So yeah, expect more videos, and then see you guys next time.